Hi everyone, salut tout le monde! Today I'd like to show you the sand update. I needed to polish it and make it more believable, because it had to be smoother with better roughness and diffuse. The sand needed much more contrast, and I wanted it to be crispier too. The top parts are now smoother and give the impression of being soaked with water, so very firm to the touch. And as you can see, I added seafoam. By following along, you'll know exactly how I did it and how to blend it with the sand. There's a dynamic link between the water and the foam. Let me show you. First, let's see how I changed the main graph for the sand. I began to discard the sand lumps. By the way, if you have a better word to describe the amalgamed grain of sand, please tell me. So the lumps, or I don't know, the crumbles, they were making the sand too complex, too rough. It's a shore, so things are supposed to be smoothed out by water twice a day. In that end, after the sand formation frame, I added this one, the smoothing. The technique is simple. It's just a multiply blend. In entry, I just blurred the base height and corrected it with the levels. Then I just put a mask in the wind erosion blend. The goal was to keep it only on the more elevated parts, so it's subtler. It's a combination of an invert, a levels, and an over invert. I tried to do it differently, but this way works the best. If you want to see the level settings, and then I kept the grainy layer and lowered the opacity from 0.2 to 0.09. And that's about it. Oh yes, for the color, let's see. I added black dots on a subtract with a mask. That's the first contrast pass. And then just use the contrast luminosity node. And changed the HSL 0.4 saturation and lightness 0.56. We get cool reddish tones, some dark patches, and nice pale yellow shades. With the water and the foam, this material is beginning to take shape. To be complete, this is what I did with the roughness. I subtracted lots of black dots, like this, again with a mask to keep the effect under control. And just a quick normal modification to get some noise on the water surface. I just blended the height with the normal to height HQ, blurred it, and then blended the normals together with a mask to make sure only the water puddles are concerned. Now, let's talk about the foam. It's a tricky material to make. There are almost no tutorials on it, and the ones that I found are difficult to grasp because they are mostly time lapses with no commentary and high speed. So here's my take on this one. I'm sure with patches of seawater among it, to break it would look okay, it would look cool. But let me show you how I got this one. We're gonna make a bubbles maker, a bubbles blending, and a simple base on which the bubbles can lay on. The roughness is just the base with only the bubbles subtracted. This way they appear totally glossy. So let's start from the beginning, the bubbles factory. The idea is simple. Just create different sizes for the bubbles and blend them together. At least 3 sizes, from small to big. Start with a paraboloid, level it to get a nice rounded shape. Level in low 0.15 2, level in high 0.98, level in mid 0.342. Then get your first tile sampler. Plug the levels output to the pattern input. And here are my settings. X and Y amounts 200 each. Size 0.3. Scale 5.92. Scale random 1. Position random 3.58. Offset 0.43. Then it's time for mask input. Just grab a moisture noise, then the levels node. Level in high 0.733. Level in mid 0.643, and connect this to the mask map input. Mask map threshold 0.28 and mask random 0.44. Color random 1. So this is the first tile sampler. Draw the frame and call it Bubbles Factory. And put it in the bottom of the frame, the tile sampler. Duplicate it and place the new one above. Second one, X and Y amount 50. Size 0.3. Scale 2.02. Scale random 1, position random 0.25. Offset 0.43. As a mask, we can use a simple Gaussian noise. Scale 32. Mask map threshold 0.28. Mask random 0.44. And color random 1. Duplicate this one and place it above once again. This is the third and last tile sampler of this graph. This one's gonna generate the smallest bubbles. X and Y amount 300. Size 0.3. Scale 1.93. Scale random 1. Position random 3.5. No masking. Color random 0.51. And that's it for the Bubbles Factory. That makes lots of numbers. Let's blend these guys together now. We want to start with a max lighten blend. In the background, send the first tile sampler at the bottom, but make it go through a levels node first. We just want to make some space by crushing the darker grays. So level in mid 0.567. In the foreground, connect the second tile sampler. And then, very easy, just another blend node, max lighten. And plug in the foreground the tile sampler which is left all alone. He's sad, he wants to connect. So here we are, with our bubbles. We can now make a good basis for roughness, normal, and AO, ambient occlusion, very quickly. Make a frame for the bubbles blending. At the bottom of the graph, bring a blend node, subtract. In the background, we want a liquid noise with a very high scale. It will act as the support for the bubbles. After many tries, I found the liquid noise is a good candidate for this purpose, but if you have a better technique, I'm curious to know about it. So scale 128, disorder and warp intensity 1. A safe transform, tile 2. Now connect to the foreground the bubbles blending. It's nice, but the liquid noise is too discernible, so I'd like to hide it in a way. There's a very easy way to do that. Choose a white noise. Multiply it by 2. And plug it in the foreground of a new blend node. Max light and opacity 0.4. And the previous blend in the background. And that's it. Frame it, roughness, normal, and AO base. What can we do now? Well, we can easily produce the ambient occlusion. Normal map can be easy to do too. Just use a new blend, max lighten. In the background, the normal base, and in the foreground, the bubbles blending. With a low intensity for the normal, we should obtain a good result. Let's try it. Plug a new normal node. The roughness can be done quickly too. We know that what needs to be totally glossy are the bubbles. So let's send our roughness base to a levels node. Level in high 0.87, mid 0.56. And this goes straight to the roughness output. Let's continue with the color. It's going to be the most simple color pass of substance history, let me tell you. Locate the blend that fits the normal and send it to a gradient map. Choose 3 white, bluish, gray values. And connect this to a base color output. And done. We need nothing more regarding the color. What's left to be done? A height map, I would say. We don't want this surface to be flat. A simple pale in noise with an auto levels will be good enough. I think that's it for the foam, considering we want only a small amount of it. It will heavily be masked and blended with the sound. What works well, in my opinion, and what's interesting, is that we subtracted the bubbles from the roughness and AO, and used them only with the normal and the color. If you want the bubbles to really pop, you can also put them in the normal and only them. Let's try it. Okay, that's a nice difference. You could also use a normal blend to have a low intensity normal for the foam and a higher intensity for the bubbles, like zero point 0.1 intensity for the foam and 0.5 for the bubbles. It would be a good option too. Just one thing I'd like to change, it's the tiling of the bubbles. Some should be smaller. So let's go to the bubbles blending and put a safe transform between the two blends. Tile 2. Yeah, it's way better. Okay, let's go back to the sand graph. Just bring in the seafoam material. And let's learn how I blended the foam with the sand material. Starting from the water filter, I sent the maps not to the outputs, but to a material blend in the slot number 2. And in the slot number 1, I sent the seafoam outputs. I didn't use a color ID mask, but a grayscale mask to indicate to designer where to display the foam. So let's have a look at the mask. There's one thing to know in this case. The mask is an inverted one, meaning the black areas will be the ones where the foam is going to be displayed. And I wanted the foam to be mainly on the puddles and in a non-uniform way. I wanted to work directly from the water puddles data by using information coming from the water level filter. That way, if I change the water level, the foam mask will follow. It will adapt to the water. It's always good to have systems that are linked together. I already showed you at the beginning that it works. But let's do it again for those who didn't watch the beginning of the video. Bring the water level up, and the foam follows the puddle edges. Bring the water level to 0, and the foam disappears. You see, it's the kind of dynamic link that enables you to create generators. Of course, I'll make future videos on the subject of generators. If you think the foam is too smooth, just bring down the blur intensity here in the mask frame. Let's see how the mask is built. We start from the roughness output of the water. This one is better than the height data because in this case, the roughness, when there's water, it's almost pure black. Because water needs to be glossy. So we have a good contrast to work with. Now we need to reinforce the contrast even more. You can use a histogram scan for that. High position and high contrast. Here I just brought a mask because I thought it would be better not to have foam everywhere. So in the center, no foam. Now just to bring more complexity to the mask, we can use a simple noise with a max lighten blend. Then a blur node to have control over the smoothness of the foam, like this. And then, once this mask is done, you just have to send the maps to the corresponding outputs. And this part is done. Okay, for next week, I will work on more surface details like debris, pebbles, algae, and I would like to show you how to make a simple white feather, the bird feather. I would also like to blur the puddles edges, just a tad. If we look carefully at the reference, the separation between water and wet sand is difficult to locate. They really blend together seamlessly. At the end, we should have a nice polished material. The goal is to bring this to portfolio quality. And I want to expose some parameters too, like at least the foam and water working together. That's it for today. Thank you for your support. If you need anything regarding the tutorials, or if you have any questions related to materials in general, please share them in the comments. Have a good week and see you next Monday. Bye bye.